All right, so I just want to welcome you to the Accidental Artist, and today we have Estria, and he's from Hawaii, and so thankful to have you on this free online event. So thank you for being here, Estria.
Yay. Aloha, everybody.
So can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, I've been painting murals for over 30 years, and I run a nonprofit called the Estria Foundation, where we teach, right now our main program is called Mele Murals, and we teach young people how to do the murals. But we don't just teach them how to paint. We also incorporate old Hawaiian traditions of meditating and grounding and asking ancestors for, and through that, and we get the subject matter for the murals.
Oh, wow. How long have you been doing that?
It's been in planning for 2 or 3 years, and we've been doing it for about a year and a half now.
Okay.
And so the larger goal is to go island to island and offer this to kids all over, and then build basically a network of these young folks across those islands so that that next generation would be more likely to continue telling our stories.
Right. Yeah, that's great. So how did you actually become an artist? Was it when you were little or when you were older?
How did I become an artist? I couldn't get algebra, and my textbook became a sketchbook.
That's great. So was that in middle school or high school?
Yeah, so I must have been in, I think I was 16, and that's when I started to get into the art. My friends were break dancers, and so we'd look for anything with break dancing that they could learn from, and then they usually had like graffiti style art on the flyers and the album covers and stuff, so that was what I got into.
That's cool. So is your favorite thing to do, is it the murals, or what would be your favorite thing to do in the art world?
Yeah, favorite thing is just to paint walls, nice big walls.
So the bigger the space, the better.
Yeah.
So do you have any do you have like maybe a...
Before how... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. What was that?
I think I said last time about there's a difference between doing like canvases where it's more of like your wrist or those little kinds of movements, as opposed to painting a wall that uses body language. Like you have to have balance and practice your breathing with your strokes and stuff like that. It's much more of a physical sport, if you will, than canvas painting.
Yeah, that's really cool because I've never heard it explained like that. So can you talk a little bit more about the breathing?
Yeah, so with the breathing, I've tried to work on like meditate, using the art as meditation. So like when you do, say, Asian calligraphy, it's like one breath per stroke. So if it's a long stroke, the breath begins and ends with the whole stroke. So if you're doing little strokes, it's like, and if it's a long stroke, it's like one. But you're trying to put yourself in sync with your actions.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm going to try that next time I'm painting. Yeah,
so it's kind of hard when I'm like, say, filling in a background or blending some clouds, but it's better when I'm doing line work because it's easier to match the breath with the strokes.
Right.
But I find, like painting's kind of meditative for me anyway. I can kind of drift off and stuff, but when you're focusing on the breathing, then you definitely are clearing your mind of stuff. And puts you very, your lines come out cleaner and more confident.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet it is kind of almost therapeutic too.
Yeah.
Well, do you have maybe like a favorite book or a favorite quote that you want to share with our listeners?
Favorite book?
We know it's not
Not that I
algebra.
can think of. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for a while I read a ton of sci-fi, and nowadays I'm reading just books on Hawaiian ways of healing and Hawaiian ways of thinking, as well as I constantly read about old Hawaiian legends.
Mhm.
So I don't think the general public wants to read those.
You never know.
Never know.
So who would you say inspires you?
Well, I like that word inspiration because it comes from, I don't know how you pronounce that Latin word, inspire. So it means like in spirit.
Mhm.
And so with the painting or even the meditating before the painting, I'm calling to my ancestors and I'm asking for guidance on what I should be painting. I'm even like guide my hand and I'll notice when little random things happen that I didn't intend. And so I try to be present with that while I'm painting.
Mhm.
So I guess to answer your question of who inspires me, it's probably my family and my guardians.
Yeah, that's really cool. I know sometimes too when I'm working on a really big project, I will definitely say a prayer before I start because I feel like that we're creative people.
Yeah.
So how, I was looking at some of your stuff on your website and it looks like you work with a lot of communities and, getting other people to paint on projects that you're working on. So how has working with communities and allowing everyone to help with the painting benefited not only you but the community?
Well, the murals with the community are exciting because you see the beginner artist skills develop and their confidence grows and they kind of come out of their shell. And then for the community as a whole, you see them develop a sense of pride in a space that was normally just maybe a blank wall or a neglected space, and now it becomes like this treasure that they kind of take ownership, claim it. So the mural, in a sense, liberates that space, and it doesn't become so much a question of who owns that wall as opposed to like, this is our story.
That's cool. Do you have like a specific project that you've done that's maybe really left an impact on you?
All of them. I mean, yeah, there's a good one where there was this young man who was a student of mine before, and now he's a friend, and he took me to Honduras in Central America, and we went to this town, and we ended up painting a mural at the site of a massacre, and all that was there was, so there was this, they used those yellow school buses as their public transportation, and there's this dusty road, and these buses go up and down that road like minutes. And I think on a Christmas Eve, these three cars surrounded a bus, and these men got out with machine guns and shot the whole bus. And I think only a few people survived because they laid under the bodies of everybody else. And in that area, like if you're on that bus, it's because you live in that area, and the government used it as an excuse to pursue the gangs out there. They blame the gangs for it. And so out there in those countries, the government, when they take a hard line, they just like, they'll go kill everybody, So it's not like in the U.S. And the thing is that what's weird is that gangs don't operate in that fashion. Gangs don't tend to go after the innocent. They target the other gang members. And surrounding them with machine, that's more like a military tactic than a gang would do. It's just not their MO. So it seems really fishy, So people looked at it as just like, oh, the government used that as a way to go after the gangs. And so then since that massacre, something like 3,000 young people have disappeared out there. And all that's at the site of that massacre is this little metal cross on the wall that you wouldn't notice. You just drive past it. So we ended up painting a mural on that spot. And that guy, his name is Josue, he painted a yellow bus with wings going up into the air with like people in the bus. And he painted it kind of cartoony. So it's like happy and they're smiling. And then we painted Arte es la vida, art is the life. And it also said sin armas ni violencia, which means like without weapons or violence. And so we had to paint a family scene and stuff, and it brought closure to the folks there. Like people would stop like every 5 minutes, the buses would stop and everyone would take pictures. People would get out of their cars or off their horses or whatever and just come and talk to us like, thank you for doing this. You know, nobody did anything for them, and this is great. And so it was super transformational for that community. And then as a result, the kids that were on the project, they formed their own club, and for years they continued to do murals with messages around town.
Were those kids from the community, were they younger or high school age?
Yeah. So in that town, your options for a kid are like, you can go to church, you can play soccer, or you can join a gang. And that's it. There's nothing else. And so for us to bring art as an option was like, it gave them something else to do, and it was something they could use to try to lure the kids away from gang life and keep them out of the gangs.
Wow. Yeah, I bet that project was definitely, you know, I'm sure it developed you as an artist and as a person, just being a part of that.
Yeah, it changes you because then you're like, oh, I want all my projects to be like this. You know, I mean, you know, you look at well, for me, I looked at all the kind of pointless pieces I've done, and I just looked at it as like, that's just technique, or that's just practice, but it lacks the substance and the connection that mural had. Right. So with the melee murals that we're doing now, like, I feel that all of them have this connection, and I feel that, like, people ask me, how do we pick where we go paint? And it's like, you know, the spot picks seems to call us. And so you just have to honor that. And then every time we do that meditation, we get these messages of what to paint that are very specific to that area. And, you know, like 5 students will get the same message, and you can't make that stuff up, you know.
So you're all together kind of deciding and collaborating and meditating on what to paint?
Yeah, so we'll sit in a room together or out in a field or on a hillside, wherever we happen to be, and I'll just tell them, just meditate, ask for what we're supposed to paint, ask your ancestors. And then when you're done, come back, sit in a circle and talk about it. And so someone will say something like, I'm kind of embarrassed, but I saw a Hawaiian crow. And then 5 people will go, oh, I saw that too. I'm like, okay, that's confirmation, right? Why did 6 of us get the same message? What does that crow mean for us, for the story? And so then they'll go research it and ask around and figure out, oh, the crow is endangered. It only grows in captivity. It represents us as Hawaiian people. It's making a comeback.
Oh, wow.
That's deep. And then digging further, they found out, well, the chief that we're painting in this one part of the story, like when the chiefs would have someone that could chant really loud, and that person would do a war cry. And the name for that chanter was the same as the name of the bird, that Hawaiian crow, ala la.
Oh, gosh.
So they realized, okay, why don't we use the crow to represent that chief? We don't have to paint the chief, we'll paint the crow as him. And, you know, because it's like people were rallying behind him, behind that cause. So it had multiple meanings, but we got the image first and had to figure it out later.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you're teaching kids at a young age too to kind of meditate before they start their painting, and it just brings a whole nother meaning to what you're doing.
Yeah. So that, going back to that as an example, the crow, that chief, that there was a battle right in that area, like just down the street from where we were. And so part of the importance of that message was like that battle represented guys that were going to try to preserve the old Hawaiian religion, and folks that wanted to go the new way because missionaries were starting to come, and they wanted to go this, like, I don't know, Christian way. And so the lesson for them was balance. Like, look at what's good in both the old and the current ways, and find best in both.
Yeah. I bet, does your community, like, do they really get excited and reach out to you about your art?
Yeah, so in Hawaiian culture, we tend to be cautious. Like people kind of ask you a little questions, or just one or two of them will show up at first, and then they'll slowly get engaged. And in our culture, we don't really have visual storytelling. Like, we don't have illustration as one of our mediums. We have petroglyphs, we have tiki carvings and patterns on cloth, and tattoos. That's kind of it. And so to see Hawaiians that that family didn't have any art training or art education, to stand there and look at the mural and come up to you and tell you what the mural's about is like, wow. You're really connecting with folks, and by telling them, they get a feeling like they're heard or they exist, because in Hawaii, I think Hawaiians are about 10% of the population on the island, and there's about 1.2, 1.4 million people.
Wow.
So not very many Hawaiians. And so it's like that host culture is in danger of being forgotten and neglected. So there's a real struggle to preserve it, because it has very important ways of looking at life, ways of living, and like the priority in it is like you take care of the land and the land takes care of you. It's a living thing, not something to plunder. So as these values get put on the walls, it validates and reinforces and helps preserve that culture.
Yeah, that's great. Talking to a lot of artists, I've learned, that there is a lot of culture and a lot of meaning behind some of the stuff, that's done. And I'm sure that artwork that you did that you call practice, I'm sure it was just getting you ready for all this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so Estria, do you believe that anyone can use art to enrich their life?
I think everyone can use art to enrich their lives. I mean, there's just so many pluses to doing it. For a lot of our students that they don't do well with books, and Hawaiians historically don't do well in classrooms. They have learned by watching the elders do something, and then they copy it. So even you start asking the elder too many questions, they're just like, shut up and watch. Let them learn, And so whenever we work with these schools, it's very common for the principal or the teacher to come and tell us, just to let our most difficult students. And I go, I don't believe they're difficult. I believe they're going to have a great time. And then 100% of the time is like, oh, the kid is engaged, the kid feels confident, feels validated, like all these things. And if you can continue to do that by providing art workshops or practice, then they'll attend school better. They'll attend school more. Their grades in the core areas of learning, math and science and whatnot, those improve. And this is like decades of research that shows this stuff, right?
Right.
And I think what it does is it encourages the more natural ways of learning, which is like watch and try and work with your hands. And it also encourages creative thinking, which you need to problem solve in all areas of life anyway. Even because I like to paint big, canvases is really challenging for me, but if I come home after work and I paint a canvas, or now I get my old Star Wars toys and I repaint them. And it's kind of silly, it's lighthearted, but it's very therapeutic. Like, I'll go to sleep feeling happy, I'm not stressing on what I have to get done tomorrow.
Right.
So, there's so many ways that art is good for you.
Yeah, so what advice would you give somebody maybe who has never done art before on, like, a first step?
Well, I'd say go try it. My mom, she couldn't understand why I wanted to get a degree in art and why I was not going to art school, because I was out painting on the streets every night.
Mm-hmm.
And so she ended up signing up for, like, art class, like a drawing class and a photography class at the local school, a little community. And it helped her understand the passion that creative people have for something that seemingly doesn't make sense. So I would say, sign up for classes. Just go try stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then with our students, I tell them, like, if you can draw, like, half an hour a day, just try to set that as a goal. And after, say, a month of doing it, it's like exercise. You get into this regimen, and you're used to, like, all right, on my coffee break, I'm going to draw. Or between classes at lunch, I'm going to draw. And you start to develop these habits. And then I go, okay, from there, I want you to increase it to this many hours per week. And as they increase it, their confidence grows, the love of it grows. It just keeps expanding exponentially.
Yeah, it's just like anything. The more you practice, the better you get. And I think people sometimes think with art it's not like that. They think either you have it or you don't, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah. And, every school, every class that we work with, there's usually like 2, sometimes 3 kids that the other kids don't even seem to know their name. They don't talk to them. They're kind of reclusive. But then they start drawing, and you're like, oh, that's where your expression comes out, is on these little pieces of paper,
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool to see. I know teaching art for several years now, some kids that can't draw are like magnificent at clay. It just comes natural. And some kids that, aren't very good at clay are magnificent at drawing. So it's kind of cool just to see the talents that come out, and that it can all be done if you just practice.
Yeah.
Well, do you have like maybe a free gift you want to offer our viewers?
On my website, on estria.com, you can click on the shop, and there's some free ringtones, spray can ringtones that people seem to like.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'll include a link so that they can go to that. Do you have any like final thoughts or final words you want to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I would encourage everyone, in addition to the art, to do the meditation part too. Even if you just do like 10 or 15 minutes a day, to add that into your life. It's been super transformational. It changed my views on everything from life and death and connection and responsibility. And it's changed my art enormously. Why I paint and what I paint, and even how I paint.
So when you say meditation, just kind of like sitting in a spot and being quiet, or what kind of step would you tell them for that?
Yeah. I'll share how I do it. So with our meditation, we sit, and ideally, if you can, like, have your actual skin touch the ground or the grass or whatever. And the top of our head is our pico E, which is like to the past and to the heavens. So I visualize the white light of heaven coming down into the top of my head and going through me into the earth. And then I visualize the red light of the earth coming up through the bottom of me and up, swirling into the heavens. And at that point, you're a conduit between heaven and earth. And then I just call to ancestors, have conversations and one. So it's not just emptying your mind, it's actually having these conversations.
Mhm.
I feel like it's like it enables you to have your own personal relationship with God and all of that. And it increases my love for my family, for God, and for the earth.
Wow. Do you do that every day?
I wish, but I don't.
Something you try to incorporate.
Yeah, but then when it's mural time, then for like a week before and for the first week of the mural, meditating every day, sometimes multiple times. Yeah.
That's really cool.
And then, so like even, oh yeah, and then like once we get, then we go and meditate and we ask, is this pono? Is this right? Are we forgetting anything? Did we leave something out? And then we get, it's like you get feedback and then we paint.
Right. Yeah, I love your take on how you come up with your art and how you get the kids to actually help with that kind of meditation. That's really neat. Well, do you have anything else, Estria? You want to just any final thoughts or anything else you want to say before we go, or just kind of make sure we're trying the meditation? And again, I just love how you incorporate that with the kids.
If folks are interested in like learning more about that, or they want to support the projects, or even just check out the projects, it's estria.org.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll add a link too with your free gift so people know how to get in touch with you. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this with us, and I know people will be able to use your words and kind of help inspire them. So, again, appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, Estria.
Bye. Take care.
You too.